Hit by a bike, pepper sprayed, handcuffed. That's a description from one New York State senator of what happened to him at a peaceful protest at the Barclays Center recently in Brooklyn. His name is State Senator Zellner Myrie. Joins us now. Senator, how did this happen?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, Chris. I am from Brooklyn. I happen to represent a huge swath of central Brooklyn. And when I heard that there would be a group of folks protesting police brutality, I decided to make my way down, one, in solidarity, and two, in my capacity as an elected official, someone who has relationships with law enforcement, someone who could act as a liaison between those who were protesting and the law enforcement officers present. As I was obeying orders, they were telling us to back up. I was backing up, trying to protect some of the protesters behind me, being compliant. I started getting hit in my back by bicycles wielded by the police officers. I was pushed, I was shoved, ultimately pepper sprayed, and subsequently handcuffed simply because I was there to forcefully protest.
Did they know that you were who it says you are on the back of your shirt? And did you make it clear to them that you were a state senator?
So, Chris, I alerted law enforcement as soon as I arrived that I was there. I made sure that those who I had relationships with knew that I was coming beforehand. And as you mentioned, I had a neon green shirt on with my name and title emblazoned on the back, precisely to prevent a situation from escalating out of control.
When they arrested you, what happened after?
So I was pepper sprayed and, to be frank, crying out because my eyes were burning and my hands were behind my back. And I was asking why I was being detained and not getting an answer. And it took a couple of minutes for some of the chiefs to realize who I was. I was then taken aside. I had my zip ties cut and I received medical attention. But it was only because of my title that I was able to not be processed.
If you were just black man on the street, you think they wouldn't have been listening to you the same way and you wouldn't have got, what was that they sprayed on you? Milk to try to help with the tear gas?
Yeah. So, the unfortunate reality of this is that it was an indiscriminate pushing. It was indiscriminate spraying, an indiscriminate handcuffing. And had I not had the luxury of my title, I would have been in the system and processed, much like many of the other protesters there that night. Now, I have never been arrested in my life. I've never been pepper sprayed in my life. And the first time that both of those things happened was as a state senator protesting police brutality.
So when people say to you, Senator, you see, I mean, you can't even control what they do to you. It'll never be what we want it to be. We'll never be equal. We'll never be loved by this country the way we love it. There will never be fairness under law. This will always be minority and majority country. What do you say to give people hope?
This speaks to the pain, the rage, the passion that we're seeing on the streets right now, because it doesn't matter what your station in life is. In the DNA of this country, unfortunately, is brutality against people that look like me. And what we're doing right now on the streets is expressing that rage. We are expressing the hope that this country can be what it professes to be. And we can achieve that only when we have justice. We hear that common refrain, no justice, no peace. That is a two-part equation. One precedes the other. There needs to be justice in order for there to be peace. And until we have accountability, until we see that there are consequences for police misconduct, we're going to continue to see unrest.
Senator, thank you very much for being on the show. I want you to come back and continue this conversation. I'm sorry that the context tonight is you having to go through all these horrible things. But look, you always have to look at everything in life as having a purpose. You will now understand when this happens to other people, what it feels like and what it means and why it demands attention when it is done in the wrong circumstances. Senator, thank you. I'm glad you're feeling better. And I'm glad you were there for your constituents. It means a lot to them to see their leaders in their midst. God bless and be well, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Chris.